be in the sequel.
That's what I'm talking about. It's the Disenfranchised Podcast, that podcast all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, and joining me, as always, the man with brains to spare. It's my co-host, Brett Wright. Hey, Brett.
Hello, Stephen.
That's right. We are right smack dab in the middle of our spookiest of thons, doing some Romero remakes. But before we get into the movie that we're discussing today, I do need to introduce that other guy over there, and his name is Tucker. Hey, Tucker.
Hi, it's me, Tucker. How's it going, Stephen?
It goes.
That's pretty cool. Speaking of spooky season, you know, I have remembered to put the spooky version of the Disenfranchised theme before both of the previous episodes this month, which I'm really proud of myself for because I forgot all month last year.
Yeah, you really did not remember at all.
Didn't exist.
Nope.
Well, that was kind of a weird time for me too. October was a tumultuous month for me last year.
It was.
Ooh,
it
boy.
was.
That's crazy.
Yeah, shit was going down. You can be forgiven. But yeah, gentlemen, we are here in week 3 of our 4-week exploration of the remakes of George Romero that did not get sequels. This week, Brett, we are talking about just one of them. Which one are we talking about, Brett?
We're talking about Day of the Dead, not Day of the Dead Bloodline, just Day of the Dead.
Yes. So
also not Day of the Dead Contagion.
Oof.
And not the TV show.
So we were talking about 2008's Day of the Dead. It was directed by Steve Miner, written by Jeffrey Reddick, and starring Mina Suvari, Nick Cannon, Michael Welch, Annalyn McCord, Stark Sands, Matt Rippey, Ian McNeice, Krista Campbell, Ving Rhames, Pat Kilbane, and a few others. What a cast, gentlemen. What a picture.
Look, Stephen, out of that cast list that you just read off, there are 2 actors that I think, despite the poor script and the poor performances from the other actors, really shined through. And one was Stark Sands. I think he's just great in everything. And in this, like, he did the best with what he had. And I think he was probably one of the only ones that had like some real actor moments that worked. Ian McNeice is always a good time too. I thought he was really fun in this movie as well. He was the guy who played the radio DJ. Honestly, I don't think we got enough time with him. If I'm being real honest, I liked him.
I enjoyed Ving Rhames as well. The little bit he was in it, I thought he was fine.
Yeah,
I enjoyed Ving Rhames and everything.
You know, I wouldn't say that he phoned it in, but he also doesn't really seem like he was all the way in it either. He's fine. He's not bad in this movie. I feel like
his zombie acting is on point.
Yeah,
he's very good zombie acting.
Assuming that was him under the makeup, which I think it is, as far as I know. I'm really upset that I didn't get to watching Day of the Dead until today, because I really wanted to go back and listen to the commentary because I have this on DVD. Now you may be saying, Tucker, this movie sucks, and why would you ever watch it? Because it's horrible and stupid. Well, everything that I just said about it is valid, but also this is one of those really bad movies that if you have a couple of friends with you and you're drinking a couple beers, you know, and you're maybe passing the bowl around or whatever, this is a damn good time, especially the first 2/3 of the movie. It's really bad, but it's bad in a fun way. And like I said before, the dialogue is just, it's so bad. It's like The Room bad almost. But
I wholeheartedly disagree with everything you just said, and not for good reasons. Like, it's not.
If you've got a group and you're having a good time, this is a good party bad movie. Every time I watch this with people, we have a good time. Every time I watch it by myself, I'm just bored.
If I threw this on at a party, that would ruin the party and everyone would go home.
It would basically have the effect of Carrie Fisher putting on the Star Wars holiday special at her parties. Like,
well, that's why I said you have to have the right people. other people that appreciate how bad something can be.
Now,
And from Steve Miner too. Is like Steve Miner's. I got you, Brett. I just got to say that Steve Miner is an established director. This guy is not just some like associate producer that stepped in to do some shit. No, fucking Steve Miner did Friday the 13th Part 2. He did Friday the 13th Part 3. He did Forever Young with straight up Mel Gibson, which was a big deal back in the day. Excuse me. He did Warlock. He did H2O, for crying in the mud. Like, he's really nothing to sneeze at. And then, like, what is this? What is this? I don't know. Well, see, that's the weird thing. As I say, I don't know, but I've heard the commentary, and that's another reason that I kind of like this movie is because I've heard the commentary, and everybody on the commentary, it's Steve Miner and I think the writer and a couple of the actors, and they loved making this movie. Like, they had a real fucking good time during every stage of production of this movie. So, like, knowing that they were having such a good time making this shitty movie, it makes my heart warm a little bit, just a little bit.
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I'm glad you like it.
I don't like it. I don't like this movie. Okay, let's be clear. I do not like this movie. It will get a low star rating. I'm just saying, with the right people, it's a good fucking time.
Which is to say, people that are drunk, stoned, or both.
I think the first time I saw this with someone, I don't think we were either, but we still had a good time because it was just so ridiculous and we were just making fun of it the whole time. But it is the kind of movie that inebriating substances would probably assist with the enjoyment of. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That's my type 5.
Like I was, whereas meanwhile,
you were saying yes.
I was actively, I actively hate this movie.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
It's egregious. Yeah,
it's so bad.
There were 3 times where I almost shut the movie off.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Twice. The first time when the zombie crawled on the ceiling. Second time when the zombie dove through the door and crawled on the wall. And the third time when the scientist zombie aliened a dude. So completely silent, tore him apart and threw him down on the floor. Completely silent. I don't know how a zombie fucking does that. But
well, don't
whatever.
you know, Brett? Zombies have superpowers. They're fucking spring-loaded. Don't you know that? Like,
see, and here's why I hate it.
And like, they're also Spider-Man.
Because, like, look, somehow. Running zombies, I hate them, but they don't make any sense. But, like, I understand why they have to exist. I get it. I don't like it personally, but I don't get it. But zombies with superpowers that can, like, jump around and crawl on walls and have no internal logic whatsoever. Like, sometimes they can retain memories of who they were, and sometimes they can't. And it's just that only seems to happen when it's relevant to the story.
Only if you're a vegetarian.
And when they're trying to reference the original in a very loose and like stupid way. That's when I can't, as I've grown accustomed and enjoy saying, I can't sanction that buffoonery.
Yeah.
So I actively hate
Tommy
this
Lee
film.
Jones both, honestly.
I actively hate this film in every way, shape, or form.
It's real bad.
Yeah, it's awful. So the Day of the Dead was actually the original was the first of the Romero zombie films that I actually ever saw.
Word.
And I think our friend of the podcast, Samuel Dumas, when he showed it to me, I don't think he was happy with how I reacted to it. Cause I was kind of like, that's good. And he was like, no, it's not good. It's the greatest zombie movie of all time. And I was like,
that's an important movie to us, Steven.
I'm aware of that now. But at the time, I was just like, I mean, it's fine.
I appreciate this about Steven, though. Even if he knows how important a movie is to you, he doesn't hold back his opinion about it.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I appreciate that about
it's always better to know. Yeah. Honesty's the best policy, man.
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you what I think. But yeah. No, and I was just like, it's fine. It's fine. And I watched it again this week in preparation for this podcast. In fact, I did too much homework for this podcast this week.
Way too much.
Because I watched not one, but 2 Day of the Dead remakes in addition to the original.
Steven, you could have been watching good movies.
Yeah, probably, but I didn't do that. I watched this instead.
Yeah.
But I watched this, and then I watched before I watched this, just to, really punish myself, because what is October if not for just masochism? I watched a little movie called Day of the Dead Bloodline, and holy fuck, that's worse, but not that much worse. If you want to see the lead singer from That Thing You Do get really skeevy and lick a college student's face multiple times, both as a human and as a zombie, have at it. It's on Netflix right now. God, why would you want to watch it? It's egregiously bad, but still, like, just a little bit worse than this one. Like, this one also not great.
I'd say this is the best remake, and they all suck.
Yeah,
this one is just this one is obviously a competently made film.
It's a real movie.
Yes, that's what I was getting at. It's a real movie. The other one
is an actual movie.
The other one feels like a student film they shot in a weekend. It does not feel like a real movie.
It's got that kind of, like, all the actors very stilted, delivering, like dialogue that they clearly don't understand what it means.
Yeah,
kind of like very amateur film kind of stuff, which, I mean, some people really dig that aesthetic. Some people really dig that. That's fine. That's not my thing. But I was very intrigued by the way that both of these movies sort of distort the original. Like, none of them is faithful in any regard. In fact, I think of the remakes that we've been discussing, they've gotten progressively looser every week. Like, you get Savini's Night of the Living Dead remake, which is very true to, for the first, probably like hour of that movie, very true, at least to the spirit of the original, if not, the action of the original. And it's really only in the third act that things really start to get very different. But then you get Dawn of the Dead, which we said last week was more an homage than it was a straight remake. And then you get this, which doesn't feel even like an homage. Mm-hmm. It just feels like, let's slap Day of the Dead on this zombie script that we have because it's got military people in it, and we could probably make this guy into a walking, like the good zombie if we
feel like
it up a little bit.
I feel like what they did with this is they'd seen the original movie. They had their own zombie movie that they were making. Somebody was like, Taurus Entertainment was like, hey guys, you want to call this Day of the Dead? And they were like, okay. And then they put in 3 or 4 scenes that are similar to the original and changed some character names, and here you go.
Yeah, like the fact that they call Mina Savari's character Corporal Cross the entire movie, and then she's in the credits as Bowman, and so you're like, wait, what happened? Yeah. What is this? Like, someone didn't take a careful look at that before they put this together, but
yeah. And also, somebody seemed to be a fan of Resident Evil too.
Yeah, dude. It kind of is Resident Evil. Yeah, it's more.
I mean, at the end, like, really, it was at the end when I was like, "Wait a minute, has this been a Resident Evil homage?"
Yeah, they have their own T-virus.
Yeah, like when they get to the secret lab that's all super sterile and clean.
It's very Hive-ish.
Yeah, very Hive-ish. Yeah. It's in the middle of a small town. The outbreak has happened in a small town. Like, Steven, come on. You at least know about Umbrella and Raccoon City. Don't do the video game shrug. You know more than that.
Not much.
That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. Like, it's a secret experiment virus was released into a small town, and they all turn into zombies. The end.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. This kind of, like, you can tell, like, quality drops in some level between the last one and this one. Like this did not get a theatrical release. This was released straight to video, which usually disqualifies it from our criteria, but we're making the exception so we can talk about this as a part of this theme month. But Like, and it's got names in it. Like, so you would expect that they would at least try to push this into a theatrical release.
Like who? Nobody in this cast is in their prime. If anything,
well, no, they're
anybody
not
that we know in this cast are
of.
on a down slope.
Nick Cannon is on his way up. He's the one who's on his way up.
I guess. When has he ever really been up, though?
I mean, fair.
He's always kind of circling the bowl. That's where he lives.
But I mean, Mina Savari, yeah, she's several years off of her highlight run. But
now Stark Sands, as I mentioned, Stark Sands, he has gone on to better things, and he's a phenomenal actor, and I think he really gives as best performance as he can in this movie. My favorite thing that he's been in is he's in Inside Llewyn Davis.
I love that movie.
And you know who he is in that movie, right?
I don't. Who's he in Inside Llewyn Davis?
He's the army dude that's staying with Llewyn Davis's pals, and he's a singer, and he's the guy who is going to get produced by the guy in Chicago when he gets out of the army, and that's why Llewyn Davis goes to Chicago to play for the guy.
Oh, that's
you
right,
know, like
right.
the kind of naive, kind of wholesome guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's him. Yeah. That's Bud, dude. Straight up Bud.
He plays it very well.
Yo, he's good in everything I've seen him in, for sure.
Of course, you know, my favorite character, like small character in that movie, is Adam Driver.
Yeah, Bud Cody. Yeah, dude.
Space.
He's great too. I love that moment too where Llewyn Davis goes to stay at his place, and he hits his toe on something. He pulls the box out, and he's got a box of his own LPs as well. Like, when Llewyn Davis is like, "Oh man, maybe I'm not the only one who's like living this life that sucks."
Yeah. Now Inside Llewyn Davis, much better movie than this one.
So good. It's my second favorite Coen Brothers movie.
It's good. It's real good. It's top 5 for me. I don't know that it's that high, but it's top 5 for me for sure. One of these days we'll do our top 5 Coen Brothers movies.
We already did. We did the disenfranchised Coen Brothers movie a couple months ago on the Patreon. Yeah,
I know we did Fincher. Did we do?
Nope, we did Coen Bros.
Okay,
we sure did. I promise you, we did.
Because I remember the discussion that I wouldn't be on it because I haven't seen enough to do that list. So you guys did it on your own.
Okay. Yeah, my brain. Look, I'm so out of it, you guys. I'm very sorry to everyone within earshot of my voice right now because it's been a week. But yeah, no.
April 30th, a serious top 5. We called it.
Oh, nice. Okay, right on. I have so much has happened since April that yeah.
One could say
I hope I can be forgiven for not remembering
day, your week, your month, or dare I say your year.
As long as I got you guys to be there for me, then I guess I'll be all right.
When the rain starts to pour, I'll be there.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, dude.
Like I've been there before.
Yeah, right on. I mean, because you know I'm there for you too.
Do 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 do.
Word.
But I mean, Ving Rhames is just perfunctory in this movie. He's just this is kind of an NAR for him. No acting required.
He's fine. He's not bad. He's fine.
He's just doing what he's got to do.
Yeah.
He's got the meats.
I'll tell you one. That joke never gets old.
Yep, I know, right?
One actor in this movie that I actually legitimately do like, who doesn't. I mean, he's not more well known, and it kind of bums me out that he's not. Ian McNeice.
Yo, I was just talking about him when you were taking care of your dog, man. I was talking about how he's the shit in this movie and like everything else that he's in. No,
I love Ian McNeice, man. I first saw Ian McNeice in the sci-fi original Dune as Baron Harkonnen. Yeah,
I remember that.
As Baron Harkonnen, and then like he would just pop up and stuff from time to time, and I'm like, I know that dude. That dude is fucking awesome, but like he doesn't get the play that like a lot of the other like British character actors get. Like he kind of gets relegated to these like kind of silly little like secondary, tertiary roles. Like he's the voice of one of the Gorgons or the big monsters in.
You had it right. You had it right.
Oh, I did in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Vogons. Yeah. Vogons. That's what it is. Like he's in like Brian De Palma's Black Dahlia. Like he's got a recurring but very small role in Rome, the TV show, HBO series Rome. Like he just shows up. I think he's like Churchill in like a Doctor Who thing.
Well, you know, his most celebrated performance was, I think, in Ace Ventura: Nature Calls.
Right. But yeah, like he just kind of shows up and stuff. But he's like, I don't know. I'm bummed that he doesn't get more stuff to do because I've always really liked him as an actor.
I wish we would have spent more time with the DJ, because that just like, you don't even get to take the journey with that group. Like you just rejoin them at points and shit has happened. Right. It's like, that's where all the missing reels are. Yes. Is that story. Like, 100%. Okay, I guess these guys showed up at some point. Here we are. Like,
right. Yeah. It which is a bummer because
he's great. He's fun.
I kind of wonder what happened. Yeah. And he's good. Like he's having a lot of fun. He looks like John Goodman in Flight. Is kind of what he looks like. Like if you've seen Flight, like I half expect him to just be accompanied by Sympathy for the Devil every time he walks on with that ponytail. Please allow me to introduce myself.
Well, like I would say, if you want to watch a zombie movie set in a radio station, just go watch Pontypool.
Yeah, dude.
That's some good shit.
What's the deal with that after credits scene, though, man? What's that all about? Kind of threw me off. I was like, what?
Okay. What is this called? What am I watching?
Ponty, Ponty, Pool, Pool.
It's essentially someone spied on Joseph and I in middle school and took our idea and made it into a really good fucking movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Plagiarism.
Yeah. We wrote this in middle school.
We didn't publish it, or you would have no way of getting a hold of it, but you stole it.
And really, it's just the scenario that you stole, but still, we want money.
Okay. I'll throw
this on the list. Pontypool's the shit. It's lots of fun.
I've never heard of it.
And it's unique. They're very unique zombies. They have a bit of a gimmick, these zombies. Don't spoil it for yourself. Go in blind.
Which I normally hate zombies with a gimmick, but this one wasn't too bad.
I was going to say, I know you do. You're not a big...
It was like zombies meet trimmers, kind of. You know what I'm saying, Brett? You know what I'm saying?
A little bit.
Fred knows what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's why I like it, because I like trimmers so much. But,
yeah, dude. Dude, yes.
But, no, I mean, that Pontypool comes out same year as this Day of the Dead remake. So, like, again, this is kind of the zombie fervor has taken hold at this point, and we're
we're deep into it.
In it at this point. Like, it's been 4 years since Dawn of the Dead last week, which we talked about, and like it's been long enough. Like I don't know. It feels weird to talk about how saturated zombies were as part of the culture for that specific part of that decade.
It was infuriating as a fan, if I'm being honest.
Word.
Like, go expound on that a little, if you guys could.
Well, for me, it was just that, and I mentioned this last week, once 28 Days Later and Dawn hit and everybody was making a zombie movie, right around that time is when streaming was in its infancy. So you had a lot of low-budget movies. You had a lot of mid-budget movies. You had stuff like World War Z, higher-budgeted movies, and stuff like that. But there were so many, and 90% of them sucked.
Sure.
And it just really, like, before, you got a zombie movie every couple years if you were lucky.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if like the 90s, I can't even think of a zombie movie from the 90s. Can't even think of one.
I mean, Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead, yeah.
I think,
but I mean,
I think you got one. Well, yeah. Well, I think I would describe this phenomena as: imagine if Marvel didn't have exclusive monopoly rights to the MCU. Imagine the early 2000s.
They're just all public domain.
All public domain. Anybody could make a Marvel movie.
And everybody was making
and
them.
Everybody, low budget, mid-budget,
and they
high
all
budget.
Sucked.
Yeah, and like 95% of them sucked. That was the zombie craze.
It was just so frustrating because before, you could just chill and find the ones that were good, and even the ones that were bad, stuff like The Video Dead and stuff like that. I mean, it was still a good time because you had a zombie movie, It was nice to just have one. And then 28 Days Later and Dawn of the Dead dropped, and like you walk out your door and you're stepping in a pile of zombie movies, and
you're like, oh, why do these keep coming to my door? Stop it,
man!
I didn't order these.
Yeah, exactly.
Who wants this? Nobody wants this.
Nobody. And then Then Jim Jarmusch comes in like 10 minutes later or 10 years later, and he's like, "I want to do a zombie movie.
The dead don't die." Yeah.
And then it fucking sucks. Like, what the fuck, Jim Jarmusch? Like,
oh, that's a bummer.
He's never let me down before. Dead Man, the shit. Coffee and Cigarettes, other shit. Like, Jim Jarmusch is like, he's the indie darling that most people slept on, that real ones know. Right. And then The Dead Don't Die came out, and it was just like, what? Like, I get what you're doing, but it's not working. And look at that cast, man. You got Adam Driver, Bill fucking Murray, Bob Odenkirk's in that movie.
Chloe Sevigny's in there, right?
Golly. Yeah, the cast is stacked, and it's boring. It's the kind of movie that would have been good if it had been made in response to the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Well, because, like now we're getting those subversive ones that are like good because they're responses to the oversaturation. Like you've got, there was that one that wasn't good, but then there's like, what was the one with the teacher? What's her name?
What?
The kids.
Teacher zombie?
It's all kids.
Cooties?
No, the other.
Oh,
one.
I like that movie. Cooties
Monsters?
Is fun.
Maybe
with Lupita Nyong'o and Josh Gad.
Yes, that's the one.
Ooh, I can't watch anything with Josh Gad. That dude just annoys me. Just the sight of him.
You know what? He leans into it a little bit in that movie, and it's a little more bearable in that because he's a children's host, and so like when the Josh Gad persona is on, it's really fucking obnoxious. But then when he's off, it's like actually pretty fun.
He's like the James Corden. He's like the American James Corden for me.
I get it.
Not because, and
I do absolutely.
Not because of that they have similar body shapes. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just they are similarly annoying.
Yeah. Except as far as I know, Josh Gad doesn't seem to be like awful to like people around him.
Oh yeah, I mean he
in the
still
way that
consistently
James Corden does.
Yeah, he seems like a pretty cool guy.
It's that theater kid try hard energy that a lot of people find off-putting. It's the same thing people don't like about like Anne Hathaway or Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Anne Hathaway. I would like to hang out with Lin-Manuel Miranda. Let's put it at that. We would be friends.
It's that kind of try hard energy that people associate with them that it kind of turns them off. But I think there's a lot of that in Josh Gad. I'm not particularly fond of Josh Gad.
Yeah,
like he does kind of like the ubiquity of Josh Gad has kind of gotten under my skin. But like, I wish him no ill will.
No, not at all. I'm sure he's a fabulous guy. Fabulous guy.
I mean,
James Corden, on the other hand,
right? Not so much. He is doing a new show with Andrew Rannells, a new Broadway show called Gutenberg the Musical.
Nice.
That sounds really fun, and I would kind of like to see it sometime.
I actually did read about that recently, but unfortunately, neither of those actors are in 2008's Day of the Dead.
Well, no, but we were talking about like the fun subversive zombie movies.
Even Zombieland, which came out a little bit after the saturation, kind of at the tail end of it.
I was going to say, didn't it hit 2009, the first one?
Yeah, it was kind of... I thought it was more near the end as it was tapering off, but maybe not. But still, it was clearly like a subversion of the, oversaturation of the zombie movie.
Yeah, Zombieland comes out in 2009, and then Double Tap comes out 10 years after that.
Well, and that's the good... That was the good thing, I think, about the whole thing taking off and there being oversaturation because it was so popular. the diamonds in the rough, the really good zombie movies that came out after the remake of Dawn of the Dead probably would not have happened if the market weren't so hungry for zombie movies, you know?
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't have Fido. We wouldn't have Fido.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't have Train to Busan either.
Nope.
And I don't want to live in a world without Train to Busan. I love that movie.
Who would?
Actually invoked that movie earlier today in conversation with my partner's sister. So
as you should.
Yeah.
As you should.
We do love Train to Busan.
Train to Busan is my Roman Empire, as the kids say.
We are all fans. We are all fans.
Yeah, God, that movie rules. That movie rules so hard. And I, of course, as evidenced by the commentary track that Brett and I did on it, God, like 2 Octobers ago.
Yeah.
I will cry at the end of that movie every fucking
back
time.
When we did commentary tracks.
Yeah, for things other than trailers. Back when
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Back when we could devote, 2+ hours to just sitting in front of a screen watching a movie.
Yeah, dude. The good old days.
The good old days. When life was a little simpler and maybe a little easier.
Just a little.
But yeah, here we are.
We're here.
And we're here talking about 2008's Day of the Dead.
Yep.
Big damn oof. Gentlemen, what say we talk about the plot of this movie before we start digging any deeper into the rest of it?
Let's do it.
I'm into it.
Let's do it.
We have our predetermined places on the die.
Yes.
I remember that I am 3 and 4.
So while Brett is prepping that, let me say the plot in 60 seconds is the part of the show where we recount the plot of the film that we are discussing, in this case, Day of the Dead from 2008, in 60 seconds or less. And to decide which of us will do that, Brett is going to roll the D6 of Destiny, which he has predetermined which sides correspond with which of us. And based on his roll, that will determine which of us will be recounting the plot. Brett.
Well, so we have decided that our numbers will be set permanently. So that way it can be a little more fair, because as the numbers changed, they just kept dodging me. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping I'm not hoping.
I am.
I'm just being more fair. But so now we're going to have set numbers. So hopefully that means I'll actually have to do it every once in a while. So Tucker, you were 3 and 4 last week. I think I was 5 and 6, or was I 1 and 2? Do you remember, Steve?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I think I was 1 and 2 because I didn't care for it at all.
Right.
You liked it more than the other two of us. So.
Fair.
So yeah, I'm 1 and 2. Tucker 3 and 4. Steven 5 and 6. Huh? That is a 5, ladies and gentlemen. That is a 5.
It's always me.
As soon as you said 5 and 6, I was like, I know this is gonna always go my way, because the frequency with which you tend to roll 5s and 6s when you do this is alarming.
Well, look, we have set numbers now, so
we do.
The odds will say that we each have a third chance every time.
Sure.
1 and 3. So there you go. Which is just how it should be.
It is.
I'm just glad it wasn't me, because even though I've seen this movie many times, after the first half hour, I just kind of zone out. I have no idea what happens, really. They get to the hospital, and I'm like, what? I don't know what happens after this.
I don't remember most of this movie, so I'm going to make up a lot of this stuff, and let's hope that what I make up is similar to what's actually in this movie.
Very good.
You can call me in. You can call me in for an audible, Steven. I might be able to help a little.
No, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna fucking wing it. Like, I've got the Wikipedia plot synopsis pulled up, but it is not helping me.
Or you could tag me in. I did recently watch this right before the recording. If you want me to do it, I'll go ahead and do it.
I must abide by the D6 of Destiny. That is the bylaws laid down by the podcast gods.
That's
so
true.
I have been chosen. I have been chosen. I go my friends to a better place.
Well, Steven, all I have to say to you is, you know what? Where's Mom? Good luck.
Thanks. Anyone gonna time me, or
no? We were gonna let you do it yourself.
I will put 60 seconds on the clock.
Thank you.
I will give you the 10-second warnings as in accordance.
In adherence with podcast law.
All right. Your time starts whenever the fuck you want. I don't care.
So I don't know. There's this fucking small town in Colorado, and there's like quarantines and military, and Mina Savari's there, and so's this other guy, and he thinks the town's a shithole, even though she lives there, because it is kind of a shithole. But surprise, the sickness that's like attacked the entire town, it's zombies really, and so everyone starts fucking turning into zombies, and it like as it infects them, like their skin starts to fall off like immediately. It's really fucking weird. Anyway, they I don't know. They run into some people. The military's there. Ving Rhames gets mauled by zombies and then comes back and eats his own eye. They crawl through the what do you call it?
20 seconds. Sorry.
They fucking die hard it through the hospital. I don't fucking know, man. Nick Cannon's there. Eventually they break into some place to like figure out how to get away from it. And a bunch of people get shot. Some of them make it out. And then a zombie screams at the camera at the end, and I don't fucking know what happened in this movie.
That's the game. Yeah, no, that was fine.
The only thing that you didn't really mention was that they ran into the doctor, and then when they get to the underground facility, they find out that it's like this bioweapon. Like straight up Resident Evil. It just turns into Resident Evil at that point.
I think I read that the name of the project is the same one from the Andromeda Strain, like the Michael Crichton book, the Andromeda Strain.
I believe that. So,
like they just straight up like ripped that off.
Why the fuck not?
And then of course, they do the nice zombie that doesn't eat anybody, except as opposed to him learning in the Romero movie, or him having a high concentration of antibodies in his blood, like the other remake. He doesn't eat anyone because he's a vegetarian.
Yeah, dude. He don't eat meat, but he sure like to bone. Rough.
Oh God, why are you, Tucker? Why are you?
I am the one who is called I am.
We're gonna hand wave that away, and then mention this because this does an even worse job of my biggest gripe with Dawn of the Dead remake is that that little homage spits in the face of the point of the original.
I agree. It does.
It spits in the face, pisses in the face, and shits in the face of the original.
Well, and that's just it. Like that is, I think, the important thing about the original Dawn of the Dead, and it's the thing that neither of the remakes that I watched this week handle well at all.
Yeah,
like they don't handle it particularly well at all, and it's really kind of infuriating.
Well, it's hard to remake perfection.
It's honestly, it's similar to my Zack Snyder Watchmen problem, where it's like, yeah, you can make this thing, but did you even understand the point of the thing you're adapting? Because I don't think you did.
As far as Watchmen goes, it always seemed to me like it was more like, and I hate it when directors do this, I don't think that Zack Snyder trusted his audience to understand the point.
I don't think Zack Snyder understood the point, honestly.
I don't know. He seems like a pretty smart guy.
I mean, the fact that he gives every one of those characters a hero shot tells me he does not get the point of the original. Because the point of the original is that this is stupid. Superheroes are dumb, and they don't look dumb when Zack Snyder's filming them like they should.
Well, not everybody can be as cynical as Alan Moore.
No, and it's a good thing.
Few people can. That man, whoo!
Society would not function if everyone was as cynical as Alan Moore. Good God!
Like, am I glad he's around? Yes, but also I just need the one. Like, we don't need any more Alan Moores.
Right? No, God bless him.
The one is fine. The one is fine.
He was a visionary. He's got his problems. I'm not going to say the man doesn't have his problems, but
what a grump! What a fucking grump!
Visionary comic book writer. No more of him, please.
Big old grump.
Yeah. But I don't blame Zack Snyder because people don't have media literacy anymore.
Yeah.
You pretty much do have to spell shit out and don't expect them to understand anything.
Sure.
I mean, sure, is this coming off a little bit pretentious right now? But come on. We've been on Twitter. We know what that's like. We've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
People just completely missing the point of just about everything they watch.
I mean, that's true. They do. But, and again, like when all you can watch is like, superhero movies that just spoon feed you everything you need to know, then, there's no real reason to expand your media literacy because there's nothing else to expand.
Okay, Alan Moore.
No, that was my Uncle Marty tirade, but yeah.
I thought it was funny. Anyway, moving on.
No, it's good. It's good. It's a good joke, man. It's good.
Don't patronize me.
Dude, Brad, I love you. I would never.
Kidding. I'm joking. I love
Bring
you.
it in. Come here. Bring it in, big guy. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, anyway. God, fuck this movie. I did not like this movie at all.
This movie's garbage. Anyway.
Yeah, this movie is bad. So thanks for listening to our episode on Day of the Dead.
Oh no, wait! I didn't get to talk about how the lead male protagonist, Sarah's brother, looks like his face is falling off of his head. And look, I don't like. I feel like it counts as punching down to make fun of the way somebody looks, but looking at his IMDb, looking at his IMDb picture now, he grew into that face and he's handsome as fuck. So I don't mind saying that he literally looks like his face is falling off of his head. He has there's no structure. There's no bones in his face. Yeah. It's just like
he's a good looking guy right now. I mean, it's kind of hilarious that he was in Star Trek Insurrection, which is a movie about aliens who had, faces stretched over their own. So that's fun.
He nailed that role, I'm sure. No makeup required.
He was also in Twilight, apparently. So there you go. That's a thing that happened. Cool. So yeah, the same year this movie came out, he was also in a little movie called Twilight.
So he was in another movie that was direct response to the oversaturation of everything.
What's that?
Vampires.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Twilight was
I mean, Twilight was kind of a part of the reason why vampires became even more oversaturated, but yeah.
Yeah, Anne Rice sort of like alley-ooped it. Mm-hmm. Stephanie Meyer, and Stephanie Meyer just spiked that shit into the ground.
Yeah, she did. Dude. Yeah, she did. Much to everyone's dismay.
Everyone, unless you were like a 12 to 15-year-old girl at that time, much to your dismay.
Oh, no, like 12 to like 35-year-old girl at that time. Like, Lord, man, those books were ravenously popular.
Which I don't understand. I read them, and I don't know how I managed to get through the second
one. I didn't. I watched 10 minutes of the first movie, and I was like, can't do it. Sorry, I'm out.
You deserve a medal, Brett.
I feel like I do.
Yeah,
because
you did it.
Just having to suffer through that second book is just, oh my god, it's just nothing but, because it's all written from Bella's perspective, so it's just a whiny teenager just expounding about how much she misses her vampire boyfriend.
Yeah.
Hey, how come those vampires still go to high school? Like, they don't have to do that. Why would they do that? Like,
there's an explanation for it in the book, and I don't fucking remember what it is.
To prey on underage girls.
Not all of them do.
Like you do. Well, like the Canadian guy, like Gordo says in Detention, he only eats baby animals because they haven't had time to live a life, and they're not missing as much because he's eating them as babies. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
I remember.
I don't remember how you maybe. I don't remember how that relates to what we were saying, but
it doesn't. That's fine.
No, there was a reason it connected.
We actively don't want to talk about this movie.
That's pretty much what we're getting.
I can help you out here. I can help you out by talking about this movie, but also not talking about it at the same time. Something that's interesting about Ving Rhames in this movie is that he does the same thing that Joe Pilato does in the original trilogy.
And I get the impression that Ving is actually a very big fan of the original films. Like, he sought out Dawn of the Dead. Like he heard there was a remake and he went to them and was like, you're going to put me in this, right? Like, I feel like he's a fan of the original Romero films.
Probs, yeah. But the reason I say that he is similar to Joe Pilato is because Joe Pilato was in the original Dawn of the Dead as a policeman.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Day of the Dead, he was Captain Rhodes. Same actor, two different roles. Ving Rhames is the cop in Dawn of the Dead, and then he plays Rhodes in this movie. Same
Captain
actor,
Rhodes.
Different roles.
That's a pretty cool.
You see what I'm saying?
That's
pretty. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I figured that out myself. It's not even on IMDb, I don't think. Yeah, I made that connection myself, you guys. Nice. I originated that.
You should
put it on the
up
social
on
medias, you guys.
That would also social medias, you guys. That would also scream to me that like he's a big fan. Maybe he actually set that shit up.
Right. Like I would not be at all surprised to learn that, because again, after he sought out Dawn of the Dead, it would not be a surprise to me that he would go, "You're gonna put me in this one too, right?" Like, well, yeah, but didn't you die at the end? It doesn't matter. I'm in this one.
Well, one of the production companies behind this movie was also one of the production companies behind the remake of Dawn of the Dead. So it could be possible that he had some kind of contract as well to appear in other zombie movies from this production company.
Okay, that's a possibility.
Strike is the name of the company. And their production logo appears before both 2004's Dawn of the Dead and 2008's Day of the Dead, though every other production company and the distributor are different.
Right, and that's I think something worth pointing out here is that unlike the original Romero trilogy, which they're loosely connected by all being a part of the same outbreak, these movies are not connected at all. And I know we talked about this last week.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that, Steven, because just like the remakes, the originals are all owned by different companies.
Right.
Like, that's the reason why, like, Strike may have produced this movie, but you can't do you have to go through Taurus to do anything Day of the Dead related because they own the name.
Right.
Well, they own the name.
That's I mean, it's a very similar thing to how Sam Raimi had to make the Evil Dead trilogy.
Oh yeah, all three of those are under different.
They're all tied up in different distributors, different production companies.
Renaissance, New Line, Universal.
Which is the reason why Ash versus the Evil Dead can't mention Army of Darkness. Like it's why that franchise is kind of fuzzy and why nothing has happened with it really besides Ash versus the Army of Darkness.
I don't know. Besides Evil Dead Rise this year, outside of that, yeah.
I mean, but again,
no, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying,
though, right?
Yeah, like, I do.
There's a reason why nothing has. They're not really pumping out anymore. Ash, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead content. Yeah.
Well,
nothing. They seem like they want to set it up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe try and set up a big crossover movie. Maybe that'll happen.
Yo, just get me Homegirl. Just get me Homegirl from the remake. And
no, I want Jane Levy to do another Evil Dead movie. I loved her in the remake in 13.
Well, no, didn't Bruce Campbell say he would do the 3-person crossover if it happens? He would do that. I
think he said he was done. I thought he said he was retired.
Hey, I don't know if you know this, but sometimes people come back. There was this football guy named Tom Brady that retired, and then he came back like a couple months later. Do you remember when Mark Hamill said he wasn't going to do the Joker anymore, and then he did the Joker some more? Do you remember that? Remember when that happened?
I mean, Bruce Campbell was out doing press tours for Evil Dead Rise, introducing the movie and doing Q&As.
Well, he's a producer on it. Like he's part owner. It's him, Raimi, and the other guy. They all own it. Tappert, yes, they all own it together. So of course he's out there. He's got a vested interest in making sure that thing sells.
Yeah, dude. Name some other producers that do what he did, though.
Look, he's the face.
He's the guy. He's the chin. He's the chin of the
series.
People
are the face of a franchise. They don't.
But no one's the chin, Brett. No one's the chin, but Bruce Campbell.
Look, man, whatever. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I agree. I agree with both of you. What Steven says makes sense, but I agree with you, Brett, that that's unprecedented.
I would still love to see it. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know that we're going to.
No.
Maybe. But I would still love to see it.
At the end of the day, it is just a fan theory.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
It's just a fan theory. Like,
speaking of fan theories, none of you guys responded to the one I dropped in the chat the other day.
None you what?
Which is what?
I figured it out.
Did you? Oh, that.
The Deadites are just Romero zombies possessed by Pazuzu.
Yeah, you dropped that yesterday when I was busy with the lady. So
I guess, but Pazuzu's not from the Book of the Dead, though. He's a.
But I mean, just in terms of the attitude, it's got like the. Pazuzu
I guess, but is Pazuzu gonna let you summon a big head to try to eat you and send you back in time? And
I don't think we get enough time with Pazuzu. He might. We don't know.
Sounds like to me he just like likes to hang out in little girls' bodies and like talk some shit and barf. I mean, speaking of barf, you guys, first thing, my Day of the Dead remake DVD is gone. I don't know where it is. I'm sure I had it when I moved here. It is gone.
Oh my gosh, I feel so bad for you.
No, it is bad. You joke, but it is bad because the commentary, like I say, is worth the price of admission itself.
In the words of the great Gene Wilder, wait, stop, police.
I said good day, sir. I want to
you lose.
I want to put this in the chat, see if you guys can see it. This is, if that shows up, is that just a photo, you guys? Is it a photo of a DVD cover?
It is a photo of a DVD cover with a lot of...
It's a zombie barfing?
With an eye in the barf, yeah.
That's the cover of the DVD that I had until I just looked and it wasn't there.
Oh, God.
And is the subtitle supposed to be The Need to Feed? Is that the subtitle of the movie?
It was on all the DVDs.
Ugh.
It's not on the actual film. Look how like stupid and awful that cover. Isn't that the worst thing you've ever fucking seen in your life?
Pretty awful.
Especially because there's only one vomiting zombie scene.
It's just disgusting. And you know what? Not only was this the cover, but it came with a slip cover, and that was a hologram, and you could see the barf come out of his mouth if you moved it like to the sides.
I don't need this. I don't need it. I don't want it. No, thank you.
No. See, that's the thing about it, is it's so aggressively bad that I just can't help myself but just like laugh at how absurd it all is. That's where the joy in this movie comes from. It's just giving into the absurdity and being like, I can't believe how bad this is.
Oh, I'm glad it brings you joy, because
I wouldn't say it's joy. I mean, I will dunk on this movie.
You just said joy.
What brings me joy is dunking on this movie, okay?
I mean,
that's what brings me joy.
You want to get a couple robots together, go up into space, and just shit on this movie all the time.
Right. Yes, sir. For sure.
But yeah, no, I could not with this movie. Like it
has no logic.
No.
The zombies have no logic at all. How does this disease fucking work? Why did they all turn at the exact same time as if there's some sort of sentient virus?
Right.
Like they all froze at the same time and then
it wasn't
like what?
And there was no biting and there was no patient zero. It was just everybody had the flu. And then, like, their skin deteriorated airborne? And they became zombies. I don't fucking know, man. Who the fuck knows?
Which is, I mean, at least they explain. I mean, it's a virus.
No, like, honestly, I'd rather... That's what's great about the Romero films is you don't know. I like the ambiguity of it. That's where I think that The Walking Dead almost took a misstep by almost explaining it in the second season. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Look, Frank Darabont's gone for one episode, and look where you are. Come on. Jesus, he turns his back for 1 second, and what the fuck?
I mean, I think
nice things, kids.
We did get finally do that in the show.
It was nice that we got dude from Truman Show in there for a season. That was cool. Like, I like that actor. The guy who played the scientist that they found, who plays Truman's best friend in Truman Show. I can't think of his name. He shows up in shit all the time. Yeah. He's great in that season. I just don't like the fact that he exists in that season because I don't want to fucking know.
That's I mean, they reveal that later on in the show because they reveal that in the comics. That they're just, everybody's infected. We don't know what it, but they don't explain why, though, as far as I know. I never read the rest of the comics. I don't know.
They don't explain it. The thing is, like, it was an airborne thing, and so anybody that's still alive is immune to the airborne virus, but if they get bitten, it's in their bloodstream, I guess. I don't know.
No, because even if you died, that was the thing. That was the twist. Even if you died without getting bitten or scratched or anything, you still turned. That everybody's just infected.
Right.
Just the people that are alive are immune to whatever, like you said, is in the air, if it was airborne. But once you die, regardless of how you die, you turn.
Which show's so fucking convoluted, dude. It's hard to keep track.
But I mean, I know a lot of other zombie fictions that kind of do that, though. It's like, you just...
Well, you got like Night of the Creeps, you got the space slugs.
Right.
You know, as long as it's fun and silly, I'm into it.
Oh, we love Night of the Creeps here. Like,
and I mean,
previous episode of Night of the Creeps,
and I'm definitely a fan of just the straightforward. The dead come back to life. You get bitten by one, you turn into one. Period. End of story.
Right. If you die, even not by a bite, you turn into one.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is the bite is gives you such, infects you so bad that you die. It's your death that turns you into a zombie.
Right.
No matter how you die. But if you get bitten, you're going to die.
No, wait,
because of the infection. Does that make sense?
No, well,
okay.
That's why we were just talking about how The Walking Dead works. I thought you didn't like that.
No, I like that. Maybe I misunderstood.
Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is,
I like there's like you have to be bitten to turn, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm saying if you die. This Romero zombies are, if you die, you come back. If you get bitten, you die. Therefore, you come back. Like, getting bitten is a death sentence.
Did I miss that part of the Romero films? Have I not seen Day of the Dead in forever? Is that what happened?
Maybe, but people die. That's the recently deceased, man. That's why we have cemetery zombies. They weren't bitten. Exactly. Like, dude in the remake, like, he's got his backwards tux on, dude, because he was in a fucking casket getting buried, man. They obviously did not pour the Volt around that dude yet.
No. And that,
well, but that guy could have been bitten before he died. Like, I never assumed that they were like, because do we ever see straight up Thriller style corpses crawling out of the ground? Like long dead corpses crawling out of the ground?
No, because George Romero has the sense to know that not only would they not be able to break out of a wooden coffin because they're so weak, but most of them will be too deteriorated to do so. And also there's a thing called a burial vault, which I know you guys know what this means, but in case there are listeners that are not aware, a lot of the time when you're buried, they don't just put your casket in the ground. They put your casket in the ground and they put cement around it, so it's like sealed. And so not only could you,
in the event of a zombie apocalypse, you stay put.
Absolutely. Like, you'd have to be really, if you're coming out of the grave, you got to be real fresh.
And real fresh. It prevents grave robbery as well.
Yeah.
So it's neither here nor there, actually. That's ambiguous.
Well, in Night of the Living Dead, the remake, Uncle Reach was not bitten. He was just sick, and he died, and he came back. He did not get bitten. Yeah. I'm trying to think.
I took that line to mean he got sick because he was bitten.
No, I'm trying to think who else in the original trilogy just straight up died. That's weird that we would interpret that in like two different ways, because that's always been my understanding. You die.
Well, the fact
it's the recently deceased. They come back to dead.
They say recently deceased several times, particularly in the original film. That was kind of
the bodies of the dead must be destroyed.
Right.
Well, but you can also interpret it as like, well, I mean, these are just news reports saying that if they're not saying whether or not they've been bitten or not.
Yeah, but chicken or the egg, Brett? Like, how do you have a zombie if there's no zombie to bite people?
Like, everybody, when The Walking Dead did that thing where, like, if you die regardless you come back, it was a big deal. Like, everybody was like, that's such a really good twist. Like,
is it? Like, that's how zombies work, though.
I thought it was, because,
hey, man, look at my boyfriend's back. Johnny Dingle gets shot in the heart, right? And he comes back as a zombie. He wasn't bitten by anybody. I mean, that's not canon Romero. I'm just saying that's an example of a movie zombie where it's understood by most that the way you become a zombie is you die. You just die. Right. And then you come back. But I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try not to come back.
Which is, it's crazy that you two have interpreted it this way.
And that's the way it is.
And from the sounds of things, most people haven't. Am I crazy? Like,
no, I don't think you're crazy, Brett. I think it's one of those things where, like, you get into like your 20s or your 30s and you realize you've like been saying something wrong your entire life.
But you know what I mean? Like, if that were the case, you could show me more definitive examples that that's how it works. And so far, you haven't been able to, except for the one that isn't even a Romero movie.
Working on it. Reanimated corpses, man. Not saying people who get bit. So I am going to reference the original Night of the Living Dead, also Dawn of the Dead, and also Day of the Dead, because there are several zombies in each of those films where you can tell that they died by other means.
That's not proof, though. That's you interpreting it.
Is it not?
According to a Quora link that I found, in George Romero's zombie universe, anyone who dies comes back as a zombie regardless of whether they were bitten or not, as long as their brain is not destroyed.
And see, do they give... Okay.
For one example, watch Land of the Dead, where a man who hangs himself comes back as a zombie without ever being in contact.
There you go. That's one. I feel like somebody gets... Well, Ben in Night of the Living Dead remake does not get bitten. He gets shot twice by Harry Cooper, and the motherfucker turns into a zombie because he dies. Because he dies. Yeah, man.
So I'll give you that, but also at the same time, I mean, right there in that same answer gives a lot of reasons for why a lot of people don't believe that's the case.
I've never heard. This is the first time anyone has come to me, Brett, and said it's only the bite that does it. And I'm not saying that you're wrong.
When a person comes back as a zombie that hasn't been bitten, they don't seem to make a big deal about it, especially in that example too. Like, yeah, he hangs himself and comes back as a zombie, but there's no they're not putting a point on it. They always put a point on the bite and the turn. There's always a focus on that.
Because that is dramatic tension. Because usually,
and also that's probably how you're gonna die.
Usually it's someone in the party who's been bitten that wants to keep it from everybody else. And so it becomes a way to build tension within the scene, because then we know it, but the characters do not. The audience is aware, but the characters that builds
Johnny.
tension.
And then why? But then
Johnny gets his neck broken in the original and in the remake.
Why is that such a big deal? Like, if they all know that if they die, they're going to come back as a zombie, why even bother hiding the bite? There's such a big focus
because they're short-sighted idiots.
But still, that's the same thing. Like, I think even the characters within the universe think that if you get bitten, you become a zombie, and that's how it happens.
Well, and I think that's what's interesting about a lot of the zombie movies, particularly the ones that front load the outbreak, is that there's a lot of misinformation, much like there was. I mean, we were in a pandemic not long ago. Like, there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of confused information. There's a lot of things people get right and a lot of things that people get wrong. And I think that you can see a lot of that playing out across it. So yeah, maybe these people on the ground do think that the bite is what turns them, because they haven't come into contact with someone who died without the bite yet.
I have a couple examples. Johnny from the original and the remake, he is bludgeoned to death and comes back in both. Also, the guy that Rhodes takes over for in Day of the Dead, I'm pretty sure he just dies from something. I don't think he gets bitten. I feel like they would have mentioned it, because Dr. Logan's got his corpse and it's alive.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah. So I'm more than happy to admit I was wrong about this, but at the same time, I can't abide by you saying this is one of those situations where, like, I thought I was saying it wrong for all this time, but I've actually been wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. There's been a definitive story relevance to the bite. There's been 28 days later that, the virus that turned them into these things is caused by a bite. Like, there's a story focus on the
blood.
Bite.
You just come in contact with the blood.
Yeah, or a scratch even. Like, and even in Resident Evil, if you're bitten or you're scratched, you become one. But not if you just die. Like, there's a lot of why did you make that face? Like,
because I don't know, man.
Well, I'm telling you that's how it works.
Okay.
Well, and so this is something that I brought up before on other episodes about other monsters, like vampires in particular, is that different writers, then once someone has established a baseline for what the rules are, different artists come in and riff on those rules. It's like jazz. Sure. Once you know what the rules are, you can riff like crazy. And I think other art works in that way. So, like, you get the fucking Twilight vampires, which do not operate the same way that classic vampires do. And even classic vampires do not operate the same way that Bram Stoker's Dracula operates. Really, the rules change. from
No,
artist to artist.
I agree with that. But I would say you have interpretations, I'm sure, where it is just the bite, but I would say it's safe to usually assume that it's just death that turns them.
I think that's what's frustrating. That's what's making me mad right now. Not that I was wrong.
Is it because it's too much of an implication than like an actual fact that there's proof for? Or?
No, the fact that you basically said I've been wrong my whole life, and they're like,
Brett, no,
that's
we still love you, Brett.
I mean,
pretty much what you said.
You did say that, Tucker.
You did.
What did we say before? It's always better to know. You want the truth from your boys, right?
But it's not. It's exactly what Steven just said. It's like vampires. It's a different interpretation. I can admit that I was wrong about the Romero zombies. I can admit that I was wrong about that. But there's plenty of other zombie media where it's the bite that matters or contact that matters. Now, even in Resident Evil, like it's a really weird thing where like they do this homage in Resident Evil 3, where they do this homage to Return of the Living Dead, where it rains and then Jill goes through a graveyard, and the zombies start rising out of the graves in the graveyard, and like that sort of doesn't make any sense.
No,
within the universe of Resident Evil, but I guess, but whatever.
That's rad.
So yeah, but most of the time it's just you get bit or scratched in the Resident Evil universe, you become a zombie, and there's plenty of other media where that happens. And again, I point at the like that big of a misconception about how it works is why that twist in The Walking Dead was so popular with a lot of people, because I don't think they knew any better.
That's wild.
Well, and it's like you said earlier, man, like media literacy is dead.
But that's not, and I was thinking that, but I'm like, wait a minute, that's not media literacy. Like if you have so much media putting such a focus on getting bitten, like that's just, well, yeah, that's how it works. That's what they show me all the time. Like there's a difference between being subtle about something and that's your intention versus something in the background that nobody's going to notice because you're putting such a focus on something else.
And I mean, again, I think Romero intentionally doesn't put the point on it in the way that others do. But again, it's the difference between like Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees. Like it's like one of them is like the culmination of all of these different ideas that come together, and the other one is riffing off of that original idea and doing something interesting and different. But Jason Voorhees is more in line with what the slasher genre became, whereas Michael Myers was always emblematic of kind of like its origins and something far more sinister at work, beneath the suburban veneer of society, right? And I think zombies can operate in much the same way, in that Romero's got his idea that he comes out with, but as that becomes more popular and as more people start using it and riffing on it and taking it, they take, just like Cunningham did with Friday the 13th, they're going to start taking the pieces that resonate more with them and applying it to what they're doing, and they're going to ignore or omit or overlook or what have you, the pieces that don't necessarily fit their understanding or conception of what's going
on. Before we move on, I want to say the one singular piece of zombie history that automatically puts my brain in that space that just automatically assumes in every zombie movie that it's death and that a bite will lead to death. And that is in the original Night of the Living Dead, when they finally get the TV and stuff, and there's that whole long section where they're just watching TV. The most exciting scene in a movie where people watch TV for me, where the reporter is talking about the report that he got from like a medical lab or something, where like the person that's dead, like it just starts moving and getting up and trying to attack them and stuff. Like that whole, like the whole story that he tells to me, because it was just like a morgue. Like I never thought about how it could be implied that all of these deaths were by bites. So Brett, I do see where you're coming from, even though I think you're wrong. Like I get it. I totally get it.
I mean, look, I haven't gotten that passionate and heated for a while. So
hey man,
man.
That was a good little discussion, man. I had fun.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is between between vampires and zombies, but like I can accept most variations of vampire lore, but for some reason I just can't accept other variations of zombie lore. I don't know why.
I think part of it is that zombies have, with very few exceptions until very recently, operated as a monolith. Like there was Romero, he was the guy that did it best, and just about everyone riffed on his conception specifically.
Well, before Romero, it was just voodoo slaves, man. There were no ghouls didn't exist. Like people coming back from the dead and eating people wasn't even a thing. Didn't even exist.
Yeah.
And also, I guess for vampires, the variations are always kind of subtle. With the Twilight notwithstanding, like the variations are always kind of subtle. It's not like, you know. But at the same time,
I like some of the bigger
really
swings.
good, and the Strain does something completely different with vampires. But
I was gonna say I like some of the bigger swings, like stuff like Dracula 2000, where it goes back to where it's Judas. Like Dracula is Judas, the original vampire, because like the blood from like the cross or something. It's ridiculous. It's stupid, but it's a fun interpretation. You know, it's not something you'd be like, oh, that is kind of cool. Like that does kind of make a little bit of sense at least.
Yeah, when it's usually Cain is usually the person they go with as the first vampire. So
was it Cain in Dracula 2000 or I think
it was Judas in Dracula 2000. It's just like even in Vampire the Masquerade and the RPG and like
that
a lot
whole
of other
trilogy,
vampire lore.
That whole trilogy, Cain. Like it definitely drops in quality for the second two, but it's still a good watch as a whole. I really like the story that flows through the three of those movies.
So Brett, clarify for me then, does that mean that vampirism is the mark of Cain in that subset of lore?
Yes, because the mark, at least the lore in the Vampire the Masquerade universe, I believe, is yes, the mark of Cain means immortality and cursed with like God, hold on. Now I gotta dig deep.
No, I mean you're not lore. It basically
hold on.
Do you guys remember when Dean had the mark of Cain? Supernatural.
Do you want me to talk about the actual biblical purpose?
And he had that knife, and it was fucking cool. Yeah.
Well, real quick, so I sort of remember, like when Cain was cursed by God in the Vampire the Masquerade universe, 3 different archangels visited him and cursed him in different ways. One was to be forced to drink blood. One was to not be able to walk in sunlight anymore, and one, I forget what the third one was. But yeah. So and then cursed with immortality was the third one. So like yes, you're immortal, but you have to drink blood and you can't walk in the sunlight. So that's I believe the Vampire the Masquerade lore about Cain.
So biblically speaking, the mark of Cain is simply a sign that God places on Cain so that people are not so that people don't immediately kill him when they see him because they know that he murdered his brother in cold blood.
Like the Scarlet Letter, but for murder.
It gave Dean superpowers.
It did,
yeah.
But again, that's cool. Another one of those things that you can riff on that lore all day long. So
yeah, that's right up there with like the 4 Horsemen stuff that I fucking eat shit. I just eat it right up.
I bet you do.
It is delicious fake Bible lore.
Nice.
But yeah, so no, man, that was a good little diversion. What else do we have to say? Let's bring this plane in for a
nothing.
What else do we have to say about
fucking nothing at this point?
All I have to say, Steven, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Johnny has the keys.
Johnny does have the keys. Look,
what's the other line? Does he look dead to you?
Is he dead?
Oh, there it is.
Is he dead?
There it is.
This movie comes out April 8th, 2008. It is released direct to video. It
did not get theatrical.
No theatrical release whatsoever. It was made on a budget of $18 million, and I have
on a budget of Nick Cannon.
Yeah, 18 million. I have absolutely no information about the video sales on this at all.
We decided to break our Batman rule for this episode, so
exactly, yeah.
Well, I have here on IMDb, I don't know how they got this. It may have been a very limited release, but we have a budget of 12 million and a gross worldwide of $301,771. So I don't know what that comes. It's certainly not video sales. I know that I bought it the day it came out because it just looked so awful. And back then, you couldn't just like stream a new movie. You had to buy something blind.
You did, or you had to trust some film critics to.
You had to go to Blockbuster.
Yeah,
I also got this at Lafayette Square, Best Buy.
Yeah. I've heard. Did you hear Best Buy said they're going to stop selling physical media?
Yeah, fuck them.
I hate it. Why am I going to go to Best Buy anymore? Jeez.
Never. That's why.
Get a surround sound system. Get some nice speakers.
So this movie comes out April 8th, 2008.
Washing machine.
It is the rest of the box office. It does not get a theatrical release, but what is in the box office this week? At the number one spot, opening this week to $20.8 million. Future episode of this podcast, Prom Night, the remake of Prom Night.
I did not like that, but I want to talk about it.
We will do that one of these days.
Nice.
What
an awful poster too.
At number two,
stupid.
It's bad. At number two, we've got the movie Street Kings. Keanu Reeves, Chris Evans, Kings of the Street. Forrest Whitaker, I think, is in that one too. In third place, down from the number one spot the week before, 21. That's that card counting movie.
Oh, yeah.
With Jim Sturgis.
Yeah.
In fourth place, down from number two the week before, Nim's Island. What if Nim had an island?
Wow, nothing Jodie coming Foster, out this week, dude. Maybe they should have released it theatrically.
I mean, in fifth place, the George Clooney film Leatherheads.
Wow, still don't care about any of these movies. What's next?
Well, get ready to not care some more. It's Horton Hears a Who, the animated film. Horton Hears a Who.
Off the back of the Lorax.
Yep, with
Horton Hears a Who.
This is before the Lorax.
Really?
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure Lorax.
There's Who's in this movie, right? Because he hears one.
Yeah, Lorax is 2012. Yeah, so this is 2008.
Oh, okay.
This was their big pivot away from live action after Mike Myers ruined the Cat in the Hat.
Right? Why was it an Easter movie?
Well, because the next one is Horton Lays an Egg. Honestly, we could probably cover Horton Hears a Who. Because there is an actual canonical sequel to that one, so we could probably cover that one.
Nah.
In seventh place, new this week, Smart People. Eighth place,
not smart enough. Like I never heard of them.
Eighth place, The Ruins. 9 is the parody superhero movie.
The Ruins wasn't bad. I like The Ruins.
What was the parody superhero movie?
It was
just
like
called the parody superhero movie.
No, it is the parody film called Superhero Movie,
like Scary Movie and Disaster Movie.
Not another teen movie. Yes,
yeah, the Date movie started that.
Oof, big damn oof. And in the number 10 spot, Drillbit Taylor.
Wow, and I'll bet the studios around this time were like, why isn't anybody going to the movies? I don't know. You just keep putting out diarrhea. Like, nobody's going to come to the movies. Right. We got diarrhea at home.
I would say go check out The Ruins. The Ruins is pretty good.
I've never heard of it, but I will check it out based on your recommendation.
Don't remember. I think I didn't care for that one, but...
Let me give you the elevator pitch, Tucker. So some people are going on vacation in the jungle, I think, maybe, or on the safari or something like that. They find this really old, Mayan shrine thing. I think it's Mayan. I'm not real sure. I don't remember. And they get trapped on top of it because whenever they try to leave, the plants that are deep inside of the shrine kill them. And then they also try to lure them into the ruins themselves by making.
That sounds cool.
It's really.
You could have just, Brett. Like that all sounds interesting, but you could have just said Jenna Malone's in a bikini in this movie.
Oh, there you go. I'll do it.
I mean, yes, accurate.
I'll do it.
And I can say that because she's only 2 years younger than me.
No, sure. Jenna Malone is like, she's a hottie. I've always had a thing for her. I think she's great.
Yeah, dude. Donnie Darko like a motherfucker.
The tomatometer score on the 2008 Steve Miner Day of the Dead is a 13%.
Yeah, sure. That's a little generous, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. It is not on Metacritic. There is no Metascore for this one at all. So sorry,
we'll just count that as a 0.
One of those. Sure. And the Letterboxd score is a 2.0. Tucker, out of the 5 stars possible, how are you going to rate Steve Miner's 2008 direct-to-video Day of the Dead?
I'm going to agree with everyone on Letterboxd and give this a 2. It's 1 star because it's complete fucking garbage. But as I've said before, that 2nd star is there because you get the right people together and watch this movie. You're going to have a good fucking time for the majority of it, especially with that ridiculous dialogue for the first half. It's a real good time if you're just straight up dunking on this movie with your friends.
It's got Nick Cannon, trying to summon the power of He-Man with a machete.
That's what I'm talking about.
That is what he's talking about.
Hey, did you guys know what Nick Cannon's talking about? Everything, apparently, because he says it about every 3 minutes. He's talking about just pretty much everything.
Brett, how are you rating this movie out of 5?
I gave it 1 star. I was going to give it a half star, but it's a half star just because it's a competently made movie.
It's an actual film, yes.
But I gave it another half star just for that little bit of a Resident Evil homage at the end that took me by surprise.
Yeah, I also gave it 1 star because it is bad.
It's real bad.
Yeah, I cannot sanction this movie's buffoonery, to quote Brett and Tommy Lee Jones. So not only can I not, I won't.
And you shan't.
I shan't.
But there it is. That's it. That is the penultimate episode of our Romero Remakes Spooky-thon. Next week, we're going to close out our 4th annual Spooky-thon with another Romero remake. I'm kind of excited to watch this one, honestly. I've never seen this one before, so I'm kind of stoked to get into it.
You've never seen either? The original or the remake?
Either. No, I've never seen either.
Yeah, dude.
You could say it's going to get crazy.
Oh.
And, it really fits with this month, not because it's George Romero, because let's be honest, you guys, people who have seen this film, it's just zombies by a different name.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it.
Like, we were talking about reinterpretations of zombies. At one point, Romero was like, what if I reinterpreted it?
Right.
Like, what if I put a little spin on it? Like, what if I did that?
A little bit of that Thanos, fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
Situation.
Yeah, it's like, all right, fuck it. You don't fuck with my shit? I'll fuck with my shit. Bam.
And so until next week, when we do talk about that, look, you can find us on all the social medias. You can find us on we're on Blue Sky now, Instagram, Letterboxd, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Disenfranch Pod. Find us
also
anywhere.
Google Plus. We're on Google Plus.
Are we?
No, it doesn't exist anymore. You silly.
I was gonna say no.
I did like it when it did though, because it was super low key and nobody was there.
Nobody was there. I think I was on there for like a week, and I was like, "This sucks." I'm gonna.
No, it was great.
Facebook.
It was great. I loved it.
You can also look while you're on your podcatcher of choice. Find us there. Leave us a nice 5-star rating and review, particularly if you're on Apple Podcast or Spotify. That's going to really go a long way to helping us find more listeners like you, and we like you. So we'd probably like other listeners like you as well. So go ahead and please do that. That would be very much appreciated. That is probably the best way to support the podcast without donating money. But if you have, like, say, a spare $5 a month laying around that you're not doing anything with, consider hopping over to patreon.com/disenfranchpod and sliding 5 of those American dollars our way. We've got so much content back there behind that paywall. It is ridiculous. In fact, I was talking to a patron the other day who was like, I was not expecting this much content. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot of it. We've basically been putting out regular monthly content on that page for the last, 2 years, year and a half?
Yeah, there's days of content there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you guys were doing at least 1 or 2 a month when it first started.
Yeah.
And then for the last several months, we've been doing What Are We Watching once a week.
Weekly, yeah. And then occasional monthly episodes where we can, like Oops All Christianity Corner, like the one we did earlier this month on The Exorcist. The one that we talked about doing on this week's What Are We Watching? Another Oops All Christianity Corner that Tucker wants to fast track. Like we've got some fun stuff. Oops All Video Game Corner episodes.
Dudes, look, we have 22. I'm sorry. We've got 4 Oops All Christianity Corners. We have 5 Oops All Video Game Corners. We have 22 What Are We Watchings, 10 disenfranchised at the movies, 7 unenfranchises, and 19 disenfranchised. That's days.
And a partridge in a motherfucking pear tree.
Yeah, dude.
It's all there. So you look, it is $5 well spent. If you do decide to throw down your hard-earned money, we promise we will make it worth your while. And so that is a great way to support us financially. All the money that we make does go right back into the podcast. We're not really getting rich on this because we're not making that much. So that's fine. But yeah,
we do it for the love.
We do it for the love. We do it for the patrons. We do it for the podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky at Chewy Walrus. Brett, where can we find you on socials these days?
You can find me on Instagram, Letterboxd, and now on Bluesky as well.
Bluesky.
Although you were just talking about how Google Plus was sort of barren, it Blue Sky kind of feels like that to me right now.
I miss Google Plus.
But like, I mean, there's people there and people are talking, but it's a little bit harder to find a good feed of stuff. You really got to go digging.
You really do, and if you don't have the time to do that, it can be a little daunting to kind of build your armory, I guess, your arsenal of followers. But
yeah. I'm getting a fairly decent number of followers each day, which is cool. Nice. I don't know why they're following me, but cool. So you can find me there. It's Sus. So Bluesky is Sus Warlock. They wouldn't let me put the underscore.
Bastards.
But the other two are Sus _ Warlock.
Right on. And Tucker, where can we find you these days?
You can find me at Ice909, that's ICENINE, the number 0 and the number 9 on both the YouTubes and the Instagrams. I also have my famous mug page on Instagram, Tuck _mugs. Last week we had a guest mug from my sister that was really cool and interesting and, fit not only the theme of the page, but since it is a disenfranchised adjacent Instagram page, it also had something to do with movies and shit. And that was cool.
Right on.
It was really cool. Also posted today, we posted on Tuck Mugs.
Yeah.
Kind of a twist in that story. A bit of a twist.
Yeah. The team over at Tuck Mugs is doing a great job.
They are. They've been really focused lately. We're getting together a lot of really good content. We kind of put it together weeks in advance just so that we can fine tune it. We've got we have a test audience, like a beta team that goes through all our stuff. No expense is spared.
Spared no expense. John Hammond style, spared no expense.
Yeah, no. And before I stop talking, I want to show you guys this because it's funny, but you can't see it. Fuck, never mind. I'll send it to you. I can't even describe it. Can't even fucking describe it. Anyway, we're all friends, which is cool.
We are friends. We are friends and we're laughing. So yeah, that is all she wrote for the 2008 remake of Day of the Dead. This has been the Disenfranchised Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy, for my co-hosts, Brett Wright and Tucker. Until next time, you know what? Where's Mom?